SBC Media.
Welcome to iGaming Daily, analysing the news from the betting and gaming industry all over the globe. Supported by SBC Summit Barcelona, the industry-leading conference bringing you the future of sports betting and iGaming.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of iGaming Daily. My name is Ted Orme-Claye, one of the senior journalists at SBC News. And for our frequent listeners out there probably thinking, who is Ted and where's James and Jessica, our usual hosts? Well, today I've booted them off their perch on iGaming Daily, sponsored as usual by SBC Summit Barcelona. And today I'm being joined by Sam Sadi, who's the CEO of Livescore Group. And really one of the reasons I took this interview up was just because of how interesting I find the topic and how important it is in the industry at this time. But before we get into the topic at hand, Sam, thanks very much for joining me today. And how are you?
I'm great and delighted to be here, Ted.
Fantastic. Great to speak with you again. Always interesting to hear about what's happening at Livescore. So to explain the topic today, we're going to be talking about the convergence of gaming and sport media and its role in the future of sports betting. This is a topic that you'll be discussing at the upcoming SBC Summit Barcelona panel, Sam, alongside Paris Smith, advisor at Pinnacle Sports, and Erik, Backlund, Chief Product Officer at Kindred Group. So I think to start this conversation off, Sam, it's probably best to angle this towards our listeners getting to know you a little bit more. So could we just start off could you give us an overview of your personal tech journey and why do you think convergence is an important theme for both yourself and for your business?
Sure. That's a bit of a dangerous question because it may take up the whole episode. I have been involved in sports betting and sports media since 1998, since the first time online sportsbooks were ever launched. I started my own startup, and that was acquired by Bet and Win, which then later rebranded into BWin. I won't go through all the details, but my history in the industry is quite relevant because I've had firsthand experience observing the evolution of the relationship between sports media and betting, and how symbiotic this relationship has been through the decades. And I have witnessed how critical this relationship has been for the success of both sides of the coin, both media and betting. And throughout the episode, I think we'll cite examples of how that relationship has changed over time and why it's become more and more important that this relationship gets to be built more efficiently towards more a convergence-led model.
And as you've just said, you've got a lot of first-hand experience of the various developments going on within this sector. We've seen a huge range of these lately, like Web3, AI, metaverse, crypto. Why do you believe that convergence is the most important aspect of sort of modern betting and gaming? And do you reckon you could provide us with some non-gambling examples of convergence?
Yes, of course. I mean, the way we use that term is when several different components of a user's consumption behavior can be brought together in a unified, seamless ecosystem. And what the ecosystem accomplishes is, it delivers a more efficient user experience, a more frictionless user experience, and through that is able to deliver more value to the user. That can be through more features, that could be more economical, that could be through experiences that are more convenient. Outside of our industries, you could cite the most obvious examples. Apple, for example, is the most known ecosystem of products out there. And for those who are familiar with Apple products, you experience daily how your AirPods interact with your phones, and how your Apple TV recognizes your devices, your account. And what this does is not only it becomes more convenient to use the ecosystem, but you get more out of it, and it creates a moat for Apple, because you don't want to add, a foreign component to this consumption behavior, because then, this whole ecosystem no longer functions that way. And in our case, media and sports media and sports betting have always had a level of convergence. It's just never been possible to offer this kind of fully integrated experience until now. But more importantly, it hasn't been necessary. This has been a very profitable relationship over decades, so much that neither side had an incentive to make it more integrated, to make it more efficient. But it's only lately through increased cost pressures and margin pressures, increased regulation, and increased competition, that both industries are looking for ways to increase the output that this relationship can deliver, both, again, to sports media companies and sports betting companies. So it's out of necessity that convergence has become critical for both industries to achieve, to be competitive and to have positive unit economics.
And so you've already touched on this already, but put simply, why do you believe that convergence is such a bankable asset in such a hyper-competitive market as betting and gaming?
Because it addresses an existing consumer behavior. So if you're a sports fan who also likes to bet, your consumption journeys will be, going to a sports site, news site, or a score site, research your bets, read the latest news, form an opinion, and then you'd go to your favorite bookie, place your bets, and then you may return to a sports media site like Livescore and track your bets. So this behavior already exists. What we're bringing to market is a more convenient way to achieve the same thing. We're removing the friction. We're removing the need to use multiple different apps, multiple different subscriptions. And, we're giving you an experience where you can find the best of both worlds. If either of those components, whether it's your news site or your betting site, is not, a world-class product, then you can still choose to use separate products. But if the ecosystem offers you the best experience for both the consumption of media and world-class sportsbook, then you start giving your loyalty to this ecosystem. And this really creates a strategic advantage for companies who remain isolated in the space of sports media or in sports betting.
Now, obviously, something you just mentioned there, which I think is very important, is the convenient aspect. On this side of things, we've obviously seen the mobile products become very big in betting, and surely this has already made sportsbook quite a converged discipline because of that. So what do you believe is missing from a consumer standpoint, from these existing mobile betting products?
Well, you're right that, sportsbook products today have, integrated a lot of media elements and components into them. But, you only visit your sportsbook product when you have an intent to bet. It's not your traditional, destination when you want to, catch up on the latest news about your favorite team, about your favorite players. And it's also, designed to deliver you the best experience for a transactional user journey. I don't believe that, these need to be bundled into a single product, but, integrated as an ecosystem of various different products. And, we are able to deliver the best user experience and the best UI and UX on a sports media side at Livescore Media. And then when you want to transact with your integrated account, you should still use another app and use Livescore Bet to complete your transactions.
Now, at the start of this conversation, we addressed, the massive experience that both Livescore and yourself have had of the betting industry. And so from your experience, have you been observing some generational changes in gambling consumption such as like the growing use of microsites, for example. And where does the convergence model stand in engaging some of these new audiences that are coming through?
That's a great question, and it's something that has evolved over time. And you always need to take into account where the sports fans are consuming content. There are different ways of achieving convergence. It can happen over products that are fully owned and operated, so Livescore and Livescore Bet. But you can also apply the same principles and stretch that into third-party platforms like TikTok and Instagram. So you could create funnels into the same ecosystem, knowing that your users prefer to consume the content in those sites. You don't always have to take over or compete with those platforms, as long as you create seamless user journeys from them into your own ecosystem.
And then on this topic of content consumption, we've seen a lot of pressure lately on the relationship between betting, sports, and TV. So against this sort of growing regulatory and compliance spotlight and backdrop, can gambling really produce an end-to-end converged experience?
While being aware of the issues, yes. And it's actually easier to operate an ecosystem of media and sports betting and implement measures to prevent any kind of harmful gambling than being separate. You have a single view of the customer, and you can leverage all the behavioral data of the customer to observe if there are any markers that indicate the type of gambling that you want to prevent. So I think it's a safer way to address and service the gambling users, and I think more and more you will see operators stretch their activities into media to have their closed ecosystems where they can implement these responsible gambling measures more effectively.
And on Livescore's own approach, would you say what would you say are some of the risks of your kind of all-in approach on the convergence model, and in what ways could it fail to deliver long term? And then, I guess, how are you planning to plan against that?
Well, primarily Livescore, for 25 years, as you know, we're celebrating our anniversary, has been, one of the world's most preferred, scores and news sites. And as long as there is demand for the service that Livescore delivers, that part of the ecosystem will continue to deliver what sports fans have been getting for so many years. And as long as there is a regulated betting industry that is active in the territories that we service at Livescore, we are going to deliver a converged experience and fulfill that demand. So it's really depending on the demand continuing to exist, which I can't see how anytime soon it will disappear. The threats to our business model could be that gambling is banned outright. But other than that, I don't see that much risk in our convergence business model.
And finally, just a little bit about the panel session itself that you're going to be speaking on at the SBC Summit Barcelona next month. Could you just share with us what are you looking forward to most about the panel, and what would you like the audience to take away from the session itself?
Well, I think convergence is one of the hottest topics in our industry right now. Today's big news is ESPN and Penn National combining forces to launch ESPN Bet, and we know Entain's acquisition of 365 Scores. So it's many operators have set this as an objective, but the insights we'd look to deliver in that panel is making people aware how difficult achieving success with convergence is. it's very easy to assume that, you bring together a popular sports media site with a sports book, that users should naturally start, migrating to the sports betting side. But it is not that easy. And maybe we give a little bit more awareness that, some of the numbers that are being forecast are unrealistic, and there would need to be a lot more technology investment and understanding of how convergence behaves before, there will be industry-wide success in this business model.
So just for our listeners, is this sort of the reason they should come to your panel session, you reckon, just to hear about these, as you say, something that is the big talking point in betting and gaming right now with all the M&A activity we've had lately?
Yes, absolutely. And, to start forming their hopefully more informed opinions about, what convergence can deliver for sports media and betting industries. And also appreciate, how far ahead, our group is on that journey.
Perfect, Sam. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ed, and looking forward to SBC in Barcelona.
Again, for all the listeners out there, if you'd like to find out more about Sam's panel, along with everything else at the SBC Summit Barcelona and everything the event has to offer, we're going to have links in the description below. Additionally, links for the relevant articles on today's topic from across the SBC media roster of websites will also be left in the description. Sam, thank you again for joining us today, and to our listeners, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of iGaming Daily, brought to you in conjunction with SBC Summit Barcelona, being held at the Fira Barcelona Montjuic on the 19th to the 21st of September. If you want to find out more about some of the subjects raised today, feel free to explore any of the sites in the SBC News Network, or check out the latest edition of the SBC Leaders magazine. Happy reading.